Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Good morning and welcome to the program. So many things always hugging the front pages of the papers, but one of the things that's a little bit shocking this morning, which of course we will have to back check, just to be clear, is the claim of budget. The budget that says that about 316 projects, are duplicated projects in the 2021 budget, and that even claims that one of those projects by the Federal College of Forestry in Ibadan, Oyo State, is planning a project in Edo State, and I'm just wondering, where is that one coming from? But another thing that we saw on the news last night on our station is that statement credited to the Minister of Information and National Orientation that banditry and kidnapping, and he said, and I quote, "It is shocking to note that a party that ruled the country for 16 years does not know that banditry and kidnapping are not federal offenses, and thereby charges the party and anyone else, I guess, to call out the states for cases of banditry and kidnapping." Is that in any way saying that the federal government is claiming not to be responsible for all of the insecurity in the country?
What does the law say? That's going to be the big question. So they need to check with the laws and see what happens. I guess that's where the lawyers will then come in and see, okay, who's to do what and under what laws. So,
but we've had insurgency for how long? That wasn't mentioned in that statement by the minister. Insurgency, is that also a state offense? That's been on since like 2009. Claims that, some states, some local governments in a particular state have been overrun by non-state actors and they have hoisted a flag that is not the Nigerian flag. That's not mentioned by the minister. So it's a little curious, don't you think?
Who knows? I think the governors have spoken. The governor of Niger State, at least, did make mention of certain things. And so I guess since he's spoken to a particular party, it's up to that party to then eventually respond and see what they say about all of those things.
All those issues are going to continue to be of interest in the unfolding days, I guess. So, the papers then?
Absolutely. So let's take a look at, the Guardian newspaper, the very first one this morning. Let's see what they focus on today. So the Guardian, abound presidency alleges Buhari haunted by his coup plotting past, says PDP. Kuriwa, you made yourself removable due to crass incompetence, nepotism. Afenifere, UPU, Yoruba Ronu Panda, Flay FG over coup alarm. Afe Babalola offers to convoke, sponsor emergency national conference. Another governor, Ndume, raised the alarm over activities of Boko Haram. Insecurity. You see, Nance threatens to shut down the country. So these are some of the issues that are making the lead story here today. Wow. So just quite a lot just playing itself out there. So there'll be many questions as to what really is going on with all of this. And then you see travel ban on India could hamper drug imports, high prices, say pharmacists. Look inwards for medicines security, says Amiibo. What do they mean look inwards? If you don't have that capacity, if you don't have it, you don't have it yet. And even if you're to have it, it will take a while before you meet up with certain things. So who knows? But right on the front page there, you see the caption, agony of a mother. Parents of one of the abducted students of Federal College of Forestry Mechanization, Kaduna, at the National Assembly, pleading for release of her child and others in Abuja yesterday. So that's the Guardian for you today.
The Daily Trust newspaper has this one that you may also find a little interesting. that claim's been on, and I think it's like another way of saying what the front page of the Guardian newspaper said. The Daily Trust newspaper opens with saying, discordant tunes over coup alarm. Find that on the front page this morning, has a few riders. Disgruntled elements plotting to remove Buhari, that's ascribed to presidency. Claim by Villa Diversionary, Afenifere Nef Pandef. Military warns officers and politicians. That's in that statement of yesterday, I guess. PDP to president. You're haunted by your shadows. Afe Babalola donates 50 million naira to fund, quote, emergency national conference. What does that mean? The details are on the inside pages, page 5 to be precise. And right under the nameplate, above that headline you see, FG moves to cut workers' salaries. Is that in any way saying another round of engagements is in the offing? Another paper, by the way, which we will not be reviewing this morning, says it's the minister that made the claim. But then the details you find on the inside pages. Right beside that one, military got 1 trillion naira in 28 months. That's according to the finance minister. The question a good number of people are asking about that one is, so where's the audit? Another report would say that the military has collected something in the region of 10.02 trillion naira over since 2015, between 2015 and 2019, and not a single audit has been carried out on that. So the details you want to find out on the inside pages of the papers this morning. That's
okay, we'll take a look at Vanguard next. Kidnapped Afaka 29 Greenfield students. Anguished parents protest at NAS. Accuse FG of neglect. One abducted Greenfield varsity student freed after parents paid 20 million naira ransom. Parents of Afaka 29 students protest plight of their children at NAS. Accuse FG, Kaduna government of negligence. Parents look hopeless. Depend on National Assembly reps. FG, Kaduna State government working together to secure Kaduna varsity students' freedom, like Mohammed. Allow more time for negotiation. Don't kill them. Napton pleads. If you have better solution than ransom, put it to work. That's ascribed to Sani. So you have all of those, so much packed in that lead story. So it tells you what to expect from that one right there. But equally concerning, it's just that one right beneath that lead story, maybe tucked away, but it reads, Governor Sule to herders, thief farmers. Killings may overwhelm my administration if, well, this would definitely raise huge concerns if governor is saying that this may happen. Then you wonder what will become, or what could become of Niger State, especially in the light of that submission. So, wow. Well, you don't forget to take a look at the back page as well. You can also, wow, Mahrez's brace sinks PSG as Man City zoom into first UEFA Champions League final. Wow, what a match that was. That's Vanguard today. Marco?
Yeah, I'm a little spoiled for choice this morning, gentlemen. The weather is such that here in Abuja, I mean, all you have to do is pick up one of the dailies and chill with a cup of coffee. I think mine will be coming very, very soon. But let's quickly look at Let's look at New Telegraph for you this morning. And this is what you find on the front page. Presidency, opposition working with external forces to overthrow Buhari. That's what you find on the front page. You're haunted by your past, PDP tells president. NAS minority threatens to invoke constitutional powers against CNC. And I think that's, at the end of the day, if you're not happy with the president and you can't wait for 4 years, I mean, there are provisions within the Constitution. I don't think any person should be proposing or thinking unconstitutional means of trying to remove a democratically elected president. Well, page 3 will give you some details into what is going on. Yeah, NAS minority threatens to invoke constitutional powers against CNC. Look at this at the bottom. Insecurity. Federal government, Senate disagree on funding for Nigeria Army. Ndume, Army underfunded, rationing ammunition. The minister says, we've been funding defense budgets nearly 100%. Yeah, I think another paper has something like, we've overfunded Operation Lafiadole. So there is actually some context to all this talk about funding. Let's look at this. 7.5 billion naira secret withdrawal. Finance Ministry shocks Senate. And you see this one, it's not good news. Nigeria's rice production drops by 75 billion naira in 1 year. So they're measuring it by the amount of money, but it'll be interesting to see what this translates to in terms of metric tons. We're looking to increase rice production so that the cost can come down. Right now, the cost of a bag of rice is not smiling in the market. And we've been assured that if we continue to eat Nigerian rice, the cost of production, because of more demand, eventually cost of production will drop and the prices should drop as well. But if we're seeing a dropping already, when is that light going to come for the price to drop for the ordinary Nigerian to be able to afford rice? Well, look at this one. Other stories just at the bottom here. Look at this. Service chiefs to appear before Senate tomorrow. Recall ex-service men, women. Atiku tells federal government. And this one is here. Again, federal government extends NIM-SIM linkage deadline to June 30. Says 54 million Nigerians now on board. And look at this. Insecurity. Southeast governors shunned Ihe Jirika, Onovo, others. That's according to DIG Okoye. Imo, Zamfara gets new police commissioners. Their commissioners of police have been changed. Will that result in much? You might want to see details on page 4 of the New Telegraph.
The Nigerian Tribune is next, and the headline is very simple. Please help us. That's what it reads. As from mothers of 17 abducted Kaduna varsity students. On the front page of the paper this morning, you'll find that story on page 2 of the paper. Opponents plotting illegal confab to overthrow Buhari. That's ascribed to presidency. Exactly what does that mean? The details are on pages 2, 5, 24, and 26. NAS Minority Caucus lists Buhari's sins, set to deploy all constitutional means to save Nigeria. Kidnapping, banditry, not federal offense. FG replies PDP. Article warns veterans recalled to tackle menace of insecurity. 6 steps to save Nigeria by Olawokbo Hashim. Nigeria moving towards anarchy, says Afe Babalola. And gunmen abduct Kogi Mieti Allah chairman. All of that you'll find on the inside pages this morning. Right above the nameplate, Mark, where you started by talking about rice. Well, here's a response to something that happened some time ago. Return rice seized from Ibadan market in 2 weeks. Senate tells customs. That story made the rounds a number of weeks ago. That story you'll find on page 8 of the paper. And on the other side of the aisle there, FG may review payroll, merge agencies to cut costs. Finance Minister says that one. The story you'll find on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
We'll take a look at Daily Times next. Presidency, PDP trade words over alleged plot to topple Buhari's administration. That's a big lead on the front page of the Daily Times here today. And then you equally find give account of 10 trillion naira security allocation. PDP challenges Buhari. So those two key stories happen to be the big ones with Daily Times. Margaret?
Let's look at leadership for you this morning. Look at what it has. Insecurity. Federal government rejects PDP's offer to help. Says opposition playing cheap politics. Okay, so remember that just 2 days ago, the PDP held a world press conference whereby they're asking the federal government, don't worry, we'll keep aside politics. We're willing to help you on this. We're concerned about the country, and we also had Senator Ben Obi here giving, diverse instances where this has happened, where they felt politicking was overshadowing national security and was threatening even national security, and saying how, garnering or getting help from the opposition and making sure everybody was on the same page was able to douse tensions. But this is what the response is this morning from the ruling party. Federal government, from the government, not the ruling party, rejects PDP's offer to help, says opposition playing cheap politics. Presidency alleges plot to overthrow Buhari's government, says call for confab aimed at vote of no confidence on PMB. That was also on the front page. Nigerians have already lost confidence, it's according to Afenifere. Atiku wants retired military officers recalled to fight terrorists. Page 4 will give you all the details. You have a number of other stories there. Greenfield Varsity bandits released one student as parents protested. NAS, that's also there. Assault. Tribunal chairman begs for time to study petition. Yeah, that was also in the news yesterday. We saw the CCT tribunal, the CCT chairman at the Senate. He was invited, summoned as a matter of fact by them. He asked for 1 week. The senators gave him 2. Said they are going to stay on the matter. It's a good thing to know that that matter hasn't died. Look at this one. We overfunded Operation Lafia Dole. Yes, I know I told you about it. That's according to the federal government. It's a page 11 read. 4 truckloads of herdsmen turned back from entering Kwara. Where were they coming from? You might want to read details on page 11. And of course, that story from budget, 316 projects worth 39.5 billion naira duplicated in 2021 budget. That's according to a report. Block all the leakages, experts tell federal government. Let's leave it there for leadership newspapers.
Nigerian News Direct leads with that cool story. Presidency alleges plots to overthrow Buhari. Stories on page 21. Thing is, religious leaders and politicians. PDP mocks presidency. Very interesting. Find the details on page 21 of the paper this morning. ICPC uncovers 315 duplicated projects of 39.5 billion naira in 2021 budget. Question then is, what's going to happen to that? And I mean, who are the people that are going to be asked questions about this? Let's check what the papers say on the inside pages. Senate urges Buhari to provide 5-year post-COVID intervention for disabled Nigerians. Now, that's what you will find on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct this morning.
If you take a look at the blueprint now, you see lie on Greenfield Varsity forestry abductions, FG, Kaduna government working to secure students' freedom. Accused PDP of politicizing insecurity, says kidnapping, banditry, not federal offenses. Reps weighed in as one varsity student released. Military warns personnel against mutiny. Does that mean that is the heard word or got word that it might happen? Religious political leaders trying to destabilize Nigeria. That's ascribed to presidency. So you also see it right there. INEC begins verification of polling unit expansion. So everyone, you need to pay real close attention if you have your voter card. Even if you don't and you intend to vote, you need to pay attention so you can know which is where, know where to go when that time comes.
There's some kind of response to that story of yesterday that more than 57 new polling units are to be created?
Well, you have to go to the story and see if that is related or connected to it, you know. And then you see insecurity. Amotekun dislodges 137 illegal occupants from Ondo forests. So, there you go. I guess, what is it about the gifts I keep on giving? Okay, well, that's a blueprint this morning. Makwe?
Well, I think that we're totally out of the papers. I think we've finally reviewed everything that we need to review this morning. Unless we've missed something, gentlemen.
Okay, well, there you go. That is it then. We'll look at some of the dailies here today. Okay, I know. They're trying to show you something. I don't know what it is and why. But, you know, speaking about that CCT chairman's matter, remember you did highlight that just... the papers did pick up on that particular
the leadership,
matter.
actually.
Yeah, about his appearance. And so, as they're focused on that, perhaps I should just, in case you might have missed it, we can have a quick look at some of that now.
Honestly, okay, see, I can be most obliged if I can be given, even if it is a week from now. I have selected cases. In fact, right now there are about 24 cases waiting for me pending at the tribunal. They are waiting, and I know that I do have cases within this week as well. So I will graciously request. I'll be most obliged if you can give me a week or so to be able to respond to this.
He has requested for 1 week. But I don't know our position in the Senate, whether we'll be in session next week. We are vacating on Thursday. We are vacating on Thursday, but we'll give him 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Because senators will vacate next week. But members of this committee are committed members to serve Nigerians. Because this is a sensitive case. And we believe Nigerians will listen, will watch us. So in order not to make it a nonsense appearance when senators are not available, I will seek the judgment of my colleagues that after breaking for 1 week, we should come and attend to this matter before Nigerians. So we give him 2 weeks.
So there you go. That's going to be interesting. So they will vacate and then, of course, they'll come back. So he needs time. But, well, it will be interesting to see how all of this eventually pans out.
Absolutely.
And public officials, they need to begin to, who knows if this will have that sort of impact with them ensuring that it's not us and them kind of scenario, wherein, you know, those who you're supposed to lead, you begin to enslave them and think that, you know, because it's a democracy.
You know,
power belongs to the people.
Absolutely. What is gratifying in this story is that it's just some guy involved.
Some guy?
Yeah, I mean, I use that in a loose sense. It's just an ordinary Nigerian, so to speak, that is involved with a public official of the status of the CCT chairman. So, as you said, many people will be waiting to see how this will eventually pan out, and not just another story. Just to say that no matter who you are not without. You are within the arms of the law, the reach of the arm of the law. So if the Senate is able eventually to put a lid on this in a way that the young man in Abuja feels gratified, I think it will be making a huge statement.
Yeah, in the eyes of the law, everybody should be ordinary.
Yeah.
No one should be above the law.
But in the enforcement?
That's the way it is. That's the way, that's the way it should be. The
law,
okay. No one should be above the law. So to that extent, on that note, we're back in a moment. Don't go away.
Yes, indeed. We're about to delve into very serious matters, but I hope you have a cup of tea at least. I was just complaining that mine wasn't here. Now, I was reminded that some people are fasting, and perhaps I should do this in solidarity with them. Well, you never can tell. We have with us this morning retired Brigadier General Sani Usman, who is a former army officer and also a former spokesperson of the Nigerian Army while he was there. General, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on your program.
It's great to have you here. Well, we wish we had you here under a different set of circumstances and not the one that, we've invited you for. But the military has been on the forefront in recent times. A lot of questions around operations, a lot of questions around loyalty as well. Only a few days ago, it would seem that someone flew a kite. The military quickly came out to say, no, you're not even allowed to think about it. And that's talking about a coup d'etat. That it is mutinous and treasonable to even contemplate it. However, this morning, the federal government seems to be saying there ain't no smoke without fire. That's what we seem to be getting. What are your thoughts? I mean, when you just heard this briefly, what did you think about it?
Well, in the first place, I'm not surprised. And to answer your first question, the military being in the forefront is for obvious reasons, because of the, barrage of security challenges we have in the country. And the military has been deployed in almost 34 states against 36 states of the Federation. So it's more or less like the military is virtually almost everywhere. So it's understandable they are closer to society now, unlike before. So the concern or the interest in the military should be higher. Then the other aspect, when you have instance or convergence of the five key leadership category on certain issue, talking about the bureaucratic, the military elites, the bureaucratic elites, the military elites, and whether retired or serving, and of course the intellectual, the business, and the political elites, you tend to have some kind of conspiracy here and there. Therefore, the first warning by the military, I think, is quite in order. I could remember when I was Director of Army Public Relations, we have had instances like that. I could remember where, not even in the country with the Chief of Army Staff, I had to issue a statement, and a lot of questions were asked, but the essence of it actually was to even remind the military officers and safeguard them in case of any unforeseen circumstances. And we have had instances where careers were truncated based on political consideration. You remember the 2015 general elections, that involved some military officers were involved. And of course, our democracy has been a fledgling one, even though we are up to 21 years now practicing it, but they are concerned. Therefore, I think it's good that once in a while to remind people of their responsibilities and their loyalty to the Nigerian state, and to ensure that democratic governance thrive. More so, it is illegal, it is prohibited for anybody to contemplate taking over power in this country without recourse to the Constitution. And talking about the government, of course, naturally, it is good to also tell people, because they have access to more information than an ordinary Nigerian. Therefore, it is good that they should warn the mischief makers, people that are thinking, doing something untoward, about our democracy. But I think we should go beyond the issuance of press statements and press releases. If there were cogent, reasons about individuals that really want us to turn the hand of the clock in terms of democratic governance in Nigeria, I think they should be exposed. Our laws were quite clear about the line of action should be taken about them. And there is no need actually to overheat the polity. We have myriads of challenges, talking about socio-economic and security, that I think all hands should be on deck to ensure that these challenges, are mitigated to a reasonable extent so that Nigeria can move forward.
But 34 states, I do recall that a few times I have spoken to you on this program, and even other programs, over the state of security and even military involvement in internal security affairs. Before now, perhaps it was 27 states. 27 states is still a lot, but now it's increased to 34. And still it would seem that the security challenges are not going down. For instance, Boko Haram is said to be in Niger State, and they've taken over a local government, for instance. And then we saw what has happened in Yobe, Maiduguri as well. There have been threats that Boko Haram could be regrouping, so to speak. And all of this just seems to be happening at the same time. Before you could quell one, another one is raising its head. What precisely is going on?
Well, I think there are issues. You can explain them in a variety of ways. First explanation is the fact that I think there is concerted effort on the part of the military to decisively deal with the Boko Haram terrorists who are known to have been hibernating, the remnants of them at the, border edge of Borno State, particularly the northern side of it and, Lake Chad region and all the rest. The pressure is much, and we have had instances that there were reports that they are panning out. That is one. Secondly, this is something that has to do with ideology and belief system. So there were sleeper cells of them that could be reactivated, and this is what we are seeing. Then third and most important thing is the fact that over time we are yet to take holistic, overview of the security situation in the country. What I mean is that, look, the whole component of Nigerian society should be in tandem with the government in terms of counter-insurgency and counter-terrorism, operations going on. But sadly enough, the level of understanding is that it is Nigerian army versus, the Boko Haram, or Nigerian military versus the Boko Haram, as against the Nigerian people versus the criminal element. So there are there's a kind of gap that ought to have been filled over time so that whenever they are doing things like that, I could remember even before the exercise Harbin Kunama in Zamfara State that time, there was information actually Boko Haram were moving towards Bauchi State, particularly in Lamebura Forest. And there was an operation to flush them out, and there was information that they might be, moving, northwest side of the country. So with that, there should be follow-up, and it is not just a military operation, just like what happened in 2009 with the Boko Haram. If you could remember, the military dealt decisively with the Boko Haram, at its embryonic state. But unfortunately, there was no follow-up. And then, they went underground. And this is what we have been battling over the years, for over a decade now. So basically, these are some of the contributing factors. Then again, we have to look at every security challenge in the context of its, of its environment. Let's take Zamfara State, for example. Yes, there were issues, particularly, when the banditry and the kidnapping issue started. Basically, it started in Ansado local government area, which is a border also local government with Kaduna State, the forest, and, it started with hardest farmers clashes, but then there were retributive actions that eventually that make people to take arm and, houses versus Fulani, the Fulanis versus Hausa, and the vigilantes, what have you. And eventually, with the discovery of the mineral resources and illegal mining, the proliferations of arms, within the society, they help in heightening this. Then again, going back to the third reason I was talking about holistic, there is this issue of, disconnect between the people and the security architecture, in the sense that, people seems to have been left unattended to, in terms of, carrying them along. Because it is not just the military. There are other components of Nigerian society. And, talking about the elite leadership that I made mention, that they ought to have been talking to themselves. Take, for instance, what is the relationship between, the security agencies and the traditional rulers and other stakeholders within the society? It could be, village community, organizations, youth groups, and what have you. So if there is that synergy of effort, bulk of the security challenges wouldn't have been, because we would have been talking to ourselves before the problem escalates to what it is now. It could have been nipped in the bud, or it could have been reduced to barest minimum. But luckily enough, now I think people are now rising. They are trying to understand the magnitude of the problem. That, look, the issue of terrorism and insurgency, banditry, you think it is just prevalent in the north or in the southwest. It has, effect on other parts of the Nigerian society and individuals, because, if one part of the society or Nigerian society is not safe and secure, it is as well as the Nigerian society is not safe and secure. So basically, these are some of the contributory factors to that. And unless we face it squarely, but thankfully, I think with the meetings and conversations going on, summoning here and there, I think we will get to that.
So I think that's a prayer every Nigerian has on their lips right now, that we'll eventually get to the solutions. But, we have to understand, as they will say, where the rain began to beat us. We do know that it was a short while ago when you retired, but while you were in service was when the military did make some progress against Boko Haram. From 2015, 2016, there was significant progress made, such that the federal government did say that they had defeated Boko Haram. Some people will say, given all that we currently see now, did we celebrate too early? And did we leave a lot of things undone, loose ends that we did not tidy up? And that's the reason why it was seen that there's now a spread, because there are huge questions as to what we did to counter the ideology which you have referred to of Boko Haram, because there are huge questions as to why is it that there is a resurgence now. Was it just a military operation and we left it at that? What did we do about the humanitarian crisis that sort of operation could have caused? Did we handle it in such a way that we created more converts to the cause of Boko Haram, or did we do what we ought to have done to make them see that they ought to be, people should be loyal to a larger Nigeria? There are huge questions here and there. But largely, do you think that we celebrated too early?
Well, I don't think so, because you see, the issue about fighting terrorism and insurgency has components. We discussed that some time back about kinetic and non-kinetic. And part of the non-kinetic aspect of it is the psychological aspect. And if I may go back to what you were referring to, maybe somewhere around December 2015 and early 2016 and all the rest of the thing, you remember the Boko Haram that time were still maintaining their caliphates, particularly with headquarters in Goza. And with due respect to the chairman, Senate Committee on Army, I think they took one of his properties as the residential accommodation of their head. But that is now history. But what brought about that is the fact that the Nigerian people tend to understand with the security agencies and took ownership. Because it wasn't magic. It wasn't magic. It's a kind of sincerity of purpose and determination to succeed, because it were the same group of soldiers that were used. And the procurement system takes such a long time. But when you psychologically ginger them up, take for instance, being with the troops, sharing their problems, making them to understand there is nobody that could solve Nigerian problems other than Nigerians themselves. And they are in the vanguard of doing so. And when you also at the same time make them understand, I could remember precisely going back, there was an attack in Balabulin, and where I had first encounter with the Boko Haram terrorists, and I was rudely shocked in the sense that this is someone that could not even afford a pair of bathroom slippers, because one right leg might be yellow bathroom slippers tied with something else and a rope, and the other one is blue, and this guy is standing firm, fighting. What more of you who have at the back of you the power of the state, your family, and the fact that you are saving humanity by engaging these bad guys? So automatically, if we have this sense of belonging, it will ginger the troops. Yesterday, I did not even sleep because I was reading one of the early editions of the papers. It looked, it's a story of about 500 or 600 words. There is nothing palatable about Nigerian state. Talking about this CGII, the Chandler governance, good governance indicators. There is no single positive words about Nigeria. In fact, if you go to the words used for some of the security agencies, you will weep. That kind of thing is demoralizing. And there is nobody that will come and solve our problem. Yes, you will talk about international communities they will have, but the solution lies here. And we need to build the resilience of the Nigerian people, the Nigerian military, by giving them sense of belonging and making them understand, look, we are solidly behind you. And of course, beyond that, we have to act in terms of equipment, welfare, and sound logistic and administrative arrangements so that they know what they are not wasting, their time. And, with that, you can see a turn around. And most importantly, again, these people are not spirits. They are within the society. Somebody somewhere, somehow is supplying them with some information, logistics, and what have you. So with that kind of, the holistic approach, the states, leading, people will understand that crime doesn't pay.
Well,
so
I don't know if that message is getting to people strong enough. Whether the people who are at the forefront, I don't think I did doubt that Nigerians support them. The question is whether the state has shown in words and action that it truly does in terms of the welfare, in terms of, I'm sure that, they will look to see what has happened to their fallen colleagues, our fallen heroes. And I'm sure that there's, more than enough examples to go around, especially since this war started, and how their families are faring. If they see that their families are faring well, I want to think that people would, naturally be gingered. But if that is not what is happening, that itself could be demoralizing to the troops on the front. Isn't that correct, General?
Yeah, it is correct. There's so many, gamut of so many things, including the recruitment system and the value system within the society. And that is where you guys come into play. When I mean guys, I'm talking about the media. It is not just enough to say there is corruption and all the rest. You have to really investigate and find out, yes, what is the statutory entitlement to a particular, soldier, airman, rating officer, or even any of the security agencies. What are the arrangements in case of unforeseen? Is it in terms of medical or educational, facilities, social welfare issues pertaining to themselves as individuals and, of course, their families? Because an average soldier has a family. He caters, in fact, in most cases, they are the breadwinners of the society. To what extent are you complementing that effort so that he will have a sense of belonging, that he doesn't need to think about, mundane things, about the welfare of his family. Yes, the love is only him that can give, but the state should show more care. The society should show more care. And that is why you should find out how much is the salary of a soldier and how much is the allowances, especially for those engaging these terrorists.
Well, you're here now. I can ask you.
Well, I have been out of the army. If you ask me how much is a pension, I will tell you, because I'm a pensioner. But
General, you're copping out. That's a cheap cop out.
No.
But I'll leave that alone. I'm not going to stress you on that, even though I could say at least what was the salary while you were there.
I will tell you.
Okay, what was the salary while you were there?
It was handsome enough to take care of me and my family.
No, that's you. What about the ordinary, the
I
average
would
soldier?
know, because
say a lance corporal, for instance.
I think a lance corporal does not earn as much as 100,000 in a month, including the allowances.
That's very
And that
worrisome.
is grossly inadequate, given the fact that he faces challenges. Somebody who is living by the minute, dying on behalf of the society.
That's very worrisome, because only
Exactly.
yesterday it was reported that a lance corporal was caught with about 2,000 rounds of ammunition trying to leave Borno State. He was caught at the park. I mean, vigilant citizens saw him at the park and reported him to the police. Now, I think the army says they're still waiting for the police to hand him over to them, and the police refused to confirm that story, but it is confirmed that indeed a lance corporal was caught. They even have his picture with 2,000 rounds of ammunition. And this is coming right after, a soldier and his girlfriend were caught selling uniforms that belong to the Nigerian army. So there are huge questions. If we do not take care of the welfare of our, soldiers, and it's not sufficient, it's not like as if it will be sufficient for anyone's greed. But at least let it take care of the basics in such a way that, they're not looking for what to take care of their families. And when that doesn't happen, or if it's not sufficient, these are the kinds of things, or this sort of things shouldn't surprise us, or should they?
Well, yes and no. Why? Because I think in your report just a while ago, the chairman, Senate Committee on Army was talking about the military rationing ammunitions. So if that is the case, how do you explain somebody stealing as much as 2,000 rounds? Let's assume that a single round, let's assume it is for AK-47. And what is the clear range of AK-47? I think effective clear range, I think will be, up to, is it 300 to 400 meters so he knows that a single round of ammunition, if you have a good marksman, you keep an object or a human being about 300 to 400 meters, you will just kill that person or hit the person instantly. So you have 2,000 of that. How did he even steal it? But remember, this is just the one that has been caught. There were instances, some even flying, out of the theater. I could remember there were instances, some of them were caught, and in fact, they were telling me, look, just 1 or 2 rounds of ammunition, it could be a mistake, and of course, it could be a mistake. But there was a particular instance where somebody was saying that it was his friend that framed him up, but they later found out it is not true. So you go back to the issue of welfare and what have you, in the sense that there are issues of command responsibility. Because when you are a commander, you are responsible for all the resources available to you, including human and material resources. Take, for instance, in a battalion, what is the administrative mechanism, by the commanding officer? Agreed, you are living in a very tense and terrible situation. Everyday attack, everyday, defense, counter attacks and what have you. That it will be very difficult to, maintain those administrative mechanisms. But there should be checks, periodic, to ensure those with criminal tendencies within the system do not take advantage of it.
General, but people will say we have been appropriating money to the military. Even right now we're reading, and this is coming from the defense minister, that, we have overfunded Operation Lafia Dole. We do know that there are huge questions around accountability now as we speak, as to whether or not the monies that were approved actually went into doing what it is that they ought to have done. Yes, indeed, they're trying to get more money into the military and get more money to buy arms and ammunition. And, you know, I mean, you just made reference to the fact that the Chairman Senate Committee on Army says that they're rationing arms within the military. Are we ensuring that there is true accountability within the rank and file of the military?
Well, I have just made mention of that, the issue of administrative mechanism and what have you. And in as far as much I know there is. But again, for people at the helms of affairs to come out and start talking, I mean, I think it's the relegation of responsibility. Why? Because any time there is appropriation, there are extant roles in terms of M&E, monitoring and evaluation. You know, you have key performance indicators. How you appropriated 1 billion naira, for instance. What is it meant for? Before you even appropriated, there was a request for that 1 billion naira. So it is your duty and responsibility to ensure that actually that money that is appropriated for is meant, I mean, is used judiciously for that particular purpose. And you don't have to wait. You could have been requesting for periodic reports and, you know, inspections and what have you. But we tend to neglect till when problems comes up, then we start talking. But then, come to think of it, how much is the total percentage of the budgetary allocations that is given to security sector in this country, given the fact that we are fighting so many fronts, you know, dealing with security challenges. And I believe it is not even up to 1%. And if you go back to when we had the Civil War, what was the appropriation? These are the issues that you have to take into consideration also.
Well, let's take a break at this moment. We'll come back and continue the conversation. Please, don't go away. Well, retired Brigadier General Sani Usman, a former Army officer, is still with us in the studio. I don't know why I have to say a former Army officer. Do they ever retire? Well, now, because we're being told, I think the Senate is saying, do call back all retired military men for them to come and, you know, serve in this battle. You're smiling. Is it out of place to say that?
Well, I think there is even constitutional provision for a reserve. It's just that we have not been too serious about it, so it's not surprising. And of course, there is also issue of debarment.
Are we serious about anything? Because
yes.
How can we have such a battle on our hands? I mean, you just said it, we have a barrage of battles, and we're not serious about, you know, a reserve.
No, but honestly, we cannot look. All these security challenges, they are not unsurmountable if we are serious enough. We have more than enough to do that. All we have to do is keep on improving and enhancing. One of the greatest assets of this country is the human resources. Have we effectively been using it optimally? Applying it. We have not. And, look, all you have to do is to, nudge Nigerians towards the right direction. And you'll see wonders. And that is why when they get out of this environment, you see them, they perform excellently.
Who should do the nudging? Is the question.
Well, naturally, we have a government should take the lead. Then, of course, I told you about the, type of leadership in any given society, the elites. Be it the business, or the bureaucratic, or the military. But most importantly, it is the political elites, because they, tend to harmonize all and give the desired leadership. Over time, have they been doing that? And that is what is bringing us to all this quagmire we are into now.
General, but the problems are a lot. I mean, for the everyday, ordinary Nigerian who is feeling rather unsure, I'm sure even you, when you want to take a trip to Kaduna, for instance, now, you would definitely put some measures in place. You can't just wake up and take a trip, can you? So it is very worrisome right now. The people who are, crying, who have been crying now for a while. Yesterday we saw the parents of those whose children have been kidnapped
the Greenfield.
at the National Assembly. The Greenfield University students, I think about 17 of them are still in captivity. Afaka students were kidnapped way before the Greenfield students, and we still haven't seen them being freed. And we have security agents. There are huge questions as to, the capacity of our security agents. General, what insights can you provide into why it is that we're yet to be able to free the students?
Well, it is not just the student. If you go back since 2014, the Chibok schoolgirls, some of them are still with the Boko Haram terrorists. So it is not just that. And I'm not too sure those school children in Kagara have been released also, So there are so many of them. And you made reference
Kagara is in Niger State. They were freed.
Okay, they were free, sorry.
They were released.
Okay. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that you have already made mention of very, very vital issue, which is the capacity. And now, in this modern day and era, I think we have not been making use of science, technology, and innovation in terms of dealing with security challenges. Take, for instance, the kidnapping. The kidnapper make use of technology. And what is the technology? The social media technology or telecommunication tech, for instance, because the negotiation for ransom and what have you is done via, mobile telephone. So, what are you doing about that? Whose responsibility is it to monitor and track? To what extent have we invested, particularly in those security agencies equipping and responsible for that aspect of it? Because there is a limit to which the military, even if you deploy them, can do. And they work on timely and accurate intelligence. Are we equipping the intelligence services? Are we making sure that they are doing the right thing? These are issues, and they are very, very important. And to what extent are we coordinating the whole security architecture? Right from the intelligence that get the information, pass the information. Whose responsibility is it to be, to deploy and to deal with these issues? So these are the issues.
General, let me shock you. So recently I had a conversation with an investigative journalist who told me about a kidnapping incident he was involved in. And he said that they were able to they employed the, what they call that now, they employed the services of a private investigator who came into the matter. They were able to track. They knew precisely where these kidnappers were. They knew when they went to buy food in town. They knew when they came back into the forest. They knew their movement at every single point. But there was no will on the part of any of the security agents that they spoke to be able to attack these people. What is going on in terms of the will? Sometimes some people will say, oh, it's because we don't have the technology. But even where private citizens were willing to provide the technology or even get help, so to speak, why is it so difficult for us to be able to deploy, men and personnel and resources to be able to get people out of the hands of kidnappers?
Well, first and foremost, I think the issue of lack of will you're talking about, the security agencies, particularly I know the military, they don't deploy themselves. So they act on order. Now, if there are security, and I don't believe, because we have had instances, even at my own level, just last week, there was information I received from somewhere in Kaduna State. Bandits were gathering for the first time. They have not seen such a number, and there is every likelihood they will attack a particular village in Kaduna State. Of course, the little I have, given the contact, I sent the information to the various, relevant security agencies, I can rest assure you there was a positive response in the sense that they were able to apprehend them. And of course, those security agencies, even though I'm an individual, they were responsive enough to even tell me that, look, action has been taken. So that is reassuring. And this is the issue, that we have not sufficiently educated Nigerians about, the intricacies of security, what to do, whom to report at which time. Sometimes you will see things on social media, and a policeman will tell you that he doesn't act on social media. And those people that are posting on social media, they have access also to, contact persons, maybe either in the police or Department of State Service, the military, and what have you. So we should know which problem is for which channel of communication. That is one aspect. And the other thing is the fact that the security agencies should be responsive enough to anticipate things, because each and every one of them is deployed, given particular area of operational responsibility. So they should start anticipating issues, problems, and if they come up, they should respond appropriately.
So
and
the
if there
people
is
who
need,
have been crying about their children being in the forest for how long now, who should they be directing their complaints to? Naturally,
the primary responsibility of the state is to secure the citizens and enhance the welfare of the citizens. So naturally, the responsibility lies with the government. But you can say which of the tier of the government or which aspect of the government. But this time around, when human lives are involved, I think we should not stop at just government. We should do everything humanly possible to ensure that these guys are, released. I won't say maybe, let's say rescued and, harmlessly. So it behoves on every one of us.
Let's quickly take this to Lagos now. I'm sure my colleagues have questions for you.
Well, yes, indeed, General. Some of the things you've said, it raises questions as to these funds that have been allocated for this purpose. Are they actually getting to the source? And these are huge questions, and one wonders, how long will all of these keep going? Because if you don't address those concerns, no matter how much funds are allocated, it means the same things could happen again. But all of these actions makes one question almost any and everything. For instance, I know you've been to NIPS, and some of these leaders who are supposed to take some of these actions have equally attended courses in NIPS as well. But is NIPS really that relevant? Because if they have, and we're still where we are, shouldn't we be questioning the relevance of such agencies?
I don't think we should, not because I'm a proud alumnus of the National Institute, but for the simple fact that I think we have been through this road before. What I mean by being through this road before is lack of political will. Take, for instance, this issue of slashing salaries of, public servant or civil servant, to speak. Somebody reminded me that one of the courses at the National Institute really trash this issue. All you have to do is to go back and check their report that they presented to the presidential party. And I know, for instance, in my own case, in 2018, in November, we submitted a report that has to do with strengthening the internal security framework and community policing in this country. We came up with policy options and implementation strategy. And it is by the grace of God that the community policing issue was given the needed nudge. So, but beyond that, there are other issues that cut across defense and security, healthcare, economy, what have you. The reports are there. And thankfully, this year, I think the 43rd course of the National National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, they said, look, we will no longer give you anything anymore. We are going to dust all those reports that have been, been given to the federal government over the last 40 years, let's see how we can revisit them. Even though times and circumstances have changed, we are in the 21st century, but that notwithstanding, they are still relevant. They are still relevant, that we can, take advantage of and, use them. So the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies is more than relevant, and it is not just that. There are other think tanks and other institutions. Take, for instance, the National Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolutions, and of course the Nigerian Army Resource Center. Every week, I know for the Nigerian Army Resource Center, Mondays and Fridays, they interrogate key issues, and after interrogation, discussion, and all the rest, they propose solutions, and various ministries, departments, and agencies, and other government agencies, in fact, even private organizations, they tend to, send reports to them. It's left for them to implement or to adjust accordingly. So that is the problem we are having. So if we can have the will to take advantage of these resources available to us whenever they come out with findings and researches, we have to take them seriously. And more so for the National Institute, you don't stop at recommendations. You have to prepare implementation strategies to the point that who should do what and who should even give what resources. So basically, if we are doing that, I don't think we will be into this issue of allegations of corruptions and misappropriations of funds or funds not getting to the right person, because already you have established, ways of doing that. And what remains is for those people in authorities, whose responsibility is it to ensure that there is effective monitoring and evaluation using key performance indicators.
Some weeks ago, General Abdulsalam Abubakar raised the alarm that they have about 6 million, if I remember properly, illegal weapons circulating in the country. And he said they've been responsible for about 80,000 deaths. Now we heard recently that the government did set up this National Center for the Control of Small and Light Weapons, which is going to replace the Presidential Committee on that small and light weapons. And perhaps they say this forms or is part of their efforts to reorganize security agencies in the country. What kind of impact do you think that decision will have? Because it's going to be domiciled in the Office of the National Security Advisor, ONSA.
I think that thing is a welcome development. As a matter of fact, it's long overdue. Because 3, 4 or more years ago, there was a move to ensure that it has been established. But thankfully, it has been established, and we have to commend the government for establishing it, because bulk of the security challenges that we're having were further aggravated by the proliferation of, small, light, and medium weapons in circulation illegally within the Nigerian society. Quite right, General Abdulsalam's committee saying 6 million, the number could even be more. And saying over 80, of course it is a fact, because bulk of the deaths, except for road accidents and maybe strangulations, as was the case of that unfortunate incidents of that 5-year-old in Kaduna and other parts, basically the deaths were through weapons. So, and most of these weapons were illegally acquired. But I must say, even though the general has all it takes, Major General Abba Mohammed Dikko retired. I know him personally, and he has all it takes to do all that needs to be done to ensure that the proliferation of small and medium arms within the society is reduced to the barest minimum. But I must say that he has a lot of work to do. Why? Because first and foremost, we have to look at what are those things that we have on the ground. What was the legacy of that committee that he will build on? And my greatest worry, actually, is the fact that it is now domiciled in the Office of the National Security Advisor. I have the opinion that it should be independent, because there is so much to be done, in the sense that apart from, mopping up it is not just question of control. Apart from mopping up, they should be able to stop, you know, the importation or illegal importations of these small and medium arms, and they should also be able to deal with the issue of the proliferations of fabricated weapons, which they are very, very dangerous within the society. And the fact that there are so many sources of these weapons into the society, the porous borders, the Sahel region, of course, we know the conflicts in Libya, and of course, the Gulf of Guinea. What do we have in the Niger Delta? And just yesterday, a soldier was caught with 2,000 rounds of ammunition. So even the security agencies, they need to be interrogated. But the good advantage of domiciling it in the Office of the National Assembly, the Office of the National Security Advisor, is the fact that he will have access to, you know, information and intelligence and synergy within the security services as against when it is independent. But I think it should be, you know, an independent establishment. More for so it is going to have regional offices in the 6 geopolitical zones, and you know, and given the bureaucratic nature of government, the reporting system and what have you, to some extent will kind of hamper, you know, quick action, to speak, by the center. But I think it's good. And again, there is one other aspect that he has to be dealing with extra, you know, ministerial departments. Take, for instance, there is no way you will succeed if you do not take into, you know, our neighboring countries into this. More so, I know that the United Nations has a protocol, the African Union has, and I believe ECOWAS has one. So, but we need to harmonize that, and that is why the center has to be reaching out. And if you are just a director or coordinator in the Office of the National Security Advisor, how will you be dealing with other states? Take, for instance, Benin Republic, Republic of Cameroon, Niger, and Chad. And possibly then, of course, the issue of the Gulf of Guinea. So I think it should be expanded. It should be given an independent autonomy so that it can perform optimally.
Well, perhaps that's why the Senate last year, February, made a move to establish the National Commission Against the Proliferation of Arms and Light Weapons. That's Commission Scale Second Reading as at February last year, before the full weight of COVID-19 really hit us. But you see, the issues that you have, a few times you have mentioned the need for security agencies to work together and all of that. So in the light of what you said about the, you know, weapons and all of that, the control of bringing them into the country, it's quite worrisome. And you were correct to say that it's more than 6 million small arms proliferated all over the nation, because according to a 2016 UN report, an estimated 70% of the 500 million weapons circulating in West Africa are domiciled in Nigeria. You mentioned that just a couple of days ago, a soldier was said to be caught with some arms. You talked about the Niger Delta, 2016 or thereabout, Rivers State, a large cache of arms and ammunition were collected from, you know, some non-state actors. But then you see, it's the importation of those arms that worry me. In the light of establishing this center, what then would be the functions, or what questions should we be asking the other security agencies in the entire spectrum? The Immigration Service is there to make sure that some of these things don't come in. The Customs Service is there to make sure that some of these things do not come in. Clearly, from what we're seeing, it seems that they haven't been doing their jobs. So what would be the function of this center that is being proposed by the NSA as against the functions of these other, you know, lines of security agencies that are supposed to be performing the same functions?
Well, I think I wouldn't say they are not doing their job. They are doing it. in the best way they know how. But we have a system in this country. Take, for instance, if you are even talking about Nigerian Customs Service, we tend to neglect the security aspect of their responsibility to and highlight the revenue generating aspect, and hence the custom is under the Ministry of Finance as against being under Interior or police or what have you. The same thing with Nigerian Immigration Services. I think we should emphasize beyond the movement of the people, we should also be concerned about proliferations of arms, this individual, because these arms, they are not having the legs of their own. People bring them in. And we have to also look at to what extent this ECOWAS protocol of free movement, and I could remember precisely Ghana had this, a serious problem, somebody has been trafficking arms illegally because of the ECOWAS protocol. He will go into the country with a vehicle empty, seemingly coming out empty, and it takes the kind of curiosity of a particular custom officer. He said, look, and they realized that actually the vehicle had been articulated in between the tires and the body. They have articulated where he, smuggled in arms and ammunition out of Ghana. And so these are issues that you have to take into consideration. But again, the center will build on the existing legacy or resources available. And naturally, take for instance, there are instances where some of the security agencies, when they are carrying out operations, they need the services of other security agencies. That is why you hear of joint operations. Sometimes the Civil Defense, Nigerian Police, and the Department of Security, State Service, as well as the Nigerian military, particularly the Nigerian Army. So I expect the center to take advantage of that. Take for instance, the center cannot just go and start mopping up arms. Based on information available, definitely before they move in, they need, if not for anything, security cover. And, somebody who is dealing with arms, definitely he or she is a dangerous person. You just cannot approach him. So you need to also secure yourself. So you see where the synergy of effort will come into play. And most importantly, again, beyond all these things, and that is why there are issues beyond what we are seeing. There is a war economy in which, in fact, the arm manufacturers themselves are making a lot of money out of the sales of these arms and ammunition, and they will not relent. Then, again, there are other people that also benefit, the middlemen that, purchase. Sometimes they even hire out this arms ammunition. We have had instances, somebody who is even a foreigner in a village in Kaduna State that hired out guns, including general purpose machine gun. So you have to sort out all these people, and you just cannot go empty-handed. You need the services of the police. You need the services of the State Department, Security, State Services Department, as well as the Nigerian military. So basically, I don't see them working alone. And if they want to succeed, or if they are to succeed, definitely they have to work in tandem with other security agencies. And most importantly, the government itself has to conscientize the Nigerian society. They should understand there are better ways of resolving, conflicts than resorting to arms. So with that, we will have willing people to come up, voluntarily, even, laying down their arms.
General, it's a fine place to leave it, even though we would really have loved to dwell a bit more on the war economy, because people have said when conflicts start, it's very difficult for it to finish, especially when people are profiting from it. But we have to thank you very much for sharing your thoughts as candidly as you possibly could this morning on Sunrise Daily. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. And I must say that you drank tea while I'm doing fasting, so you owe me something.
Indeed, I do. We're speaking to retired Brigadier General Sani Usman, who is a former Army officer. Sunrise Daily continues in a moment. Please stay with us.
Yeah, welcome back. As you see there, we've got Barreto Mohammed, Head of Service of Kaduna State, joining us this morning to weigh in on what is going on. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, if you, as the NLC president did say there, he was categorically saying the state government did not obey Section 40 of the Labour Act, wherein they were supposed to have informed the union of the scope of redundancy and what they were going to do. Clearly, part of the reasons why they are not happy. So could you respond to that? Is that the case?
Good morning. Thank you very much. Just to clarify that Kaduna State never declared redundancy. What Kaduna State did and is still doing is verifying records of civil servants. In the process of verifying the records, we discovered some issues that we wanted to clarify. And we also drew the attention of, we did a sensitization exercise at that time. And we said we were going to do this exercise, and that anybody who fell between, who had these qualifications, like primary school certificates, secondary school certificates, and so on, that we were going to disengage them. So we did not declare redundancy. And we engaged traditional.
Yeah, go ahead.
We engaged traditional leaders, the unions, at that time. That is at that time. I think he's talking about the disengagement that took place in 2017.
So at the moment,
yes.
So at the moment, the 2,000 local government staff, the primary school workers, the 1,700 primary healthcare workers, the state workers, all of these who were disengaged, is that part of the verification? They didn't have all of those documents you required?
Yes. While doing the verification exercise, we realized that there were still people, when we did the exercise in 2017, we gave 2 years for officers who were still young and who lacked the minimum qualification that we wanted in the civil service to go and obtain a minimum of a national diploma. And we engaged the unions, and we provided all the guidelines and everything. So now we are doing the verification exercise again, and we realized that there were still people who did not take the opportunity to obtain the minimum qualification. That's a diploma. And that is what is required for entry into the civil service of Kaduna State Police.
But Labour is saying that part of those the state disengaged included nannies, cleaners, hospital attendants, watchmen, that those ones don't require diploma certificates to function.
Now, even before this administration came into power, during the administration of McCarthy, he had already outsourced cleaners and messengers and so on. We had companies and even security men. We had companies that were engaged to provide such services. And when this administration came, it continued. So there is no way that the Kaduna State government will pay for outsourced cadres and still pay the companies that were doing the services.
So what is the current situation with that now? Because Labour is insisting that the state government disengaged them.
The Kaduna State Civil Service has not determined how many people will be disengaged, of course. But as I said earlier, these cadres had been outsourced even before this administration came into power.
So, Madam, just to be clear, is there a plan from the verification exercise you're talking about? Is there a plan by the Kaduna State government to sack workers?
Yes, there is a plan. But it depends on the position that we find these staff. As I said, we gave them more than 3 years a notice to obtain the minimum qualification required for entry into the Kaduna State Civil Service.
But you're also aware that Kaduna State is, like every state in Nigeria, part of the states responsible, entities or institutions responsible for ensuring that there is employment, because already we have a very serious unemployment situation on our hands. So with that in mind, do you think, people will be questioning the timing of this exercise by the Kaduna State government?
Well, you see, at the time that we have right now, I think Kaduna State is one of the few states that is engaging staff. Right now, we have finished processes to engage 7,600 teachers of secondary school. We have engaged health staff that are just being paid. We have done a recruitment exercise in KASU, in College of Education, Gidanwaya, and in the State Polytechnic. That's all our tertiary institutions.
Well, madam, it's a little confusing. If you could kindly shed some light. So on the one hand, there is a plan to disengage. On the other hand, there is a plan to engage. Help us understand.
Well, the plan is to right size. You know, when this administration came into power, we did an exercise with all the ministries, departments, and the staff. We realized that some agencies were over-established. So we agreed that this is the number of staff that we require in this ministry, in that agency. It was an engagement that we did early in 2015. So then we realized while we were doing this process of verification, we realized that there were people who we didn't require in the civil service who were still on. Now, let me give you an example. On Easter Day, I went to my hometown for a wedding. And behold, some health staff were waiting for me. And the first person said to me that a colleague of his who was on duty, she could not come to see me, had a sister who was working in a facility, in a hospital. And when her sister died, she assumed the name of the sister. Now, while we were doing the verification exercise, she realized that she forgot to change her primary school certificate to that of her sister, who had died. And that during the verification exercise, the staff realized that they asked questions, of course, and she is scared that her salary would be stopped. So she came to seek for my assistance. Can you imagine? I said to the man who she sent, that first of all, she has denied her sister's children from accessing the death benefits of her sister. And secondly, that all the salary that she has collected from the Kaduna State government for over 7 years is illegal, and that there is no way that we would allow her to continue receiving such salary. And I told her that she would be dismissed and she will be expected to pay the salary back to the Kaduna State Civil Service. We cannot afford to pay people who do not exist. Now, while still doing the verification exercise, the chief executive of MDAs had to do physical verification. And in the process, they realized that in the MDAs, they were paying salaries of staff that they did not know. And in the process also, they could not even recognize some of the staff that came to do verification. And when they were asked questions, they couldn't give any tangible reasons. So it means all along, we were paying staff who were not even coming to the office. And while in my office, while we were doing the exercise for executive officers, somebody amongst us recognized someone whom she knew had a very big shop in the market, and he was selling things. He never came to the office. We never knew he was our staff until we did that physical verification. Now, I'm sure you will agree with me that we cannot allow this thing to continue. It is not right, and we must stop it. So that is why we are doing this verification exercise. Kaduna State is determined to do it, to right the wrongs. That is why we call it right sizing. And
in other words,
we have already engaged. We are putting on a portal whereby people who feel they have been disengaged while they have the required qualifications can upload their certificates, and we will address it. We have suspicious certificates that we feel are fake. So we are liaising with the universities and polytechnics and other institutions to ensure that such certificates presented are not fake.
well, now you say that this is a right sizing, disengaging staff who should not be there, perhaps ghost workers, but Labour says, no, you are sacking people, even people who are supposed to be qualified and working. So is this a combination of trying to let the appropriate people work, or you are equally sacking people who you think, well, yes, you should be here, but we can't afford to pay a bloated civil service, so we need to sack people notwithstanding?
No. We are disengaging unsuitable people to recruit staff to strengthen our education and health sector. That's what it is. And how come it is the Labour that is talking? I mean, at the national level. Why not at the state level?
Well, the Labour...
How is it that we have not been able, our staff are still there, they are not going on strike, we don't have any threat. Now, in 2017...
Yeah, what difference does it make? What difference does it make if Labour at the national level and the state level speak? What's the difference?
Okay, I'll tell you why I said that. In 2017, the same, at the national level, we were invited to the office of the Minister of Labour. The governor was there, I was there, and all our stakeholders. We attended, and the Labour, the union wanted to go on strike. They accused us of so many things. But at the time, after engaging the minister, we told the minister that the unions had participated in the exercise. The verification of the exams that we did, the competency tests that we did on the primary school teachers, they even supervised. They supervised. And we gave him a copy of minutes of meeting that we held. We held several meetings before we did the exercise. And all of a sudden, we were surprised that we were told that we didn't engage and that we were doing illegal things. And that is why, because of course they found out it's not true. The minister found out that whatever the NLC said was not true. That is why the Kaduna State civil servants never went on strike, and the process continued. So,
correct me if I'm wrong. Are you suggesting? Let me just put this in. Are you suggesting that? Just a moment.
State was the first to
just hang on before you move on to the next point. Are you suggesting that the
pension to 30,000 naira?
Just hold on before you get to that point. Before you get to that next point, are you suggesting that the leadership... Can you hold on a minute? Let's put in this question so that you could respond to it. You make that point subsequently. Are you suggesting that the leadership of Labour at the state level, headed by Comrade Ayuba Magaji, does support the exercise going on in Kaduna State right now?
They have not complained. We don't have any... What they did is to respond to a fake letter that has been going around since 2019.
Okay.
A fake letter that was alleged to have been signed by the PPS. We have denied that letter. Kaduna State no longer pays casual staff. We have since stopped it. Everything that's in that letter is fake. The governor has denied it. All the stakeholders, I have denied several times. We have issued press statements. on our social media handles and everywhere else. So I was disappointed when the national level of the NLC responded to a fake letter. The national level should have confronted us to confirm whether such letter is true or not. It is the same letter that was issued in 2019 by of course, our opponents, probably, just in an attempt to stop.
There are statements credited to the leadership of Labour Kaduna in the media saying that they do not support what is going on. Is it that those NLC are fake as well?
The letter is fake. They are responding to a fake letter.
All right.
That's the
now.
Yes.
The matter you referred to in 2017, where 21,771 primary school teachers, 5,000 local government workers, and 4,000 state workers were disengaged without entitlement. Does it mean that all of them were illegal workers?
No. We did a competency test for primary school teachers, and those who failed, who had less than 75%, were disengaged. Because we applied a primary 4 exam to the teachers, and most of them failed. And when we disengaged the 21,000 and so on, we engaged 25,000 teachers.
Madam,
we engaged 25,000 teachers. We didn't know that there were teachers in private schools who were earning 5,000 naira as monthly emolument until we did that exercise. We received commendation from people. We received letters, emails, text messages saying that it was the best that we did. In fact, even at the time that we were having problems, many people offered to teach voluntarily before we finished the recruitment exercise.
Yeah, so all of these people who were sacked in 2017, none of them were entitled to their payoff packages, because they say you didn't pay any one of them.
No, that's not true. Now, when we came in, we had the gratuities and death benefits had not been paid since 2010. We computed the debts to about 14 billion naira. So the State Executive Council decided that instead of paying from 2015, it is better to pay all the debts, to settle all the debts that we met. And so far, we have paid over 13 billion in gratuities and death benefits. And we introduced the contributory pension scheme we started implementing the contributory pension scheme in 2017. We were one of the states that had the comment that was commended for complying to the provisions of the contributory pension scheme. We were making our contributions as required, and we didn't have problems with that. And we are still paying.
Just give us a moment. We'll go to break, and we'll let you conclude your thoughts when we return in a moment. Please stay with us.
Thanks for staying with us. Well, madam, it is curious that some of the people, from the information that my colleague has given in the questions that he's asked you, include local government workers. The assumption in the Constitution is that local governments are independent of states and shouldn't they be the ones taking care of their own welfare and all of that, as opposed to the state government sacking local government workers?
The state government did not sack local government workers. The state government, the local governments are not able to pay salary.
But the information, available in the social media, in the media, not social media, available all over the place, is that, for instance, more than 80 staff of the Jamaa local government area secretariat in Kafanchan in Kaduna have been retrenched, and that they received their letters of disengagement from the state government. just
well, as I said,
Wednesday. Yes.
I said earlier that the Kaduna State government is disengaging unsuitable staff to recruit due to the physical pressure. But we are still recruiting to strengthen the education and health sector.
Of
I have also said
local government staff, not state government, madam. Local government staff. That's the question.
It is yes. The local government, even the local government, wouldn't have. We cannot. We did not engage. The state did not engage local government staff.
So why is it the local government? So why is it the state government that is sacking them?
There is a unified local government service. It is a unified local government service. And the state.
But they have local government chairmen, they have their own administrations as well.
Yes, they have a commission which is responsible for employment, promotion, discipline, and disengagement. It is that commission that is doing the exercise, not the state.
Well, that sounds kind of contradictory because
that we have a portal. We are putting on a portal whereby anybody who feels they are disengaged, they have we are not fair to them, they can go ahead and upload their certificates on the portal, and we'll do the needful to see that they are to provide for them.
And besides, the state government.
Now, let me remind you, please. Yeah, I just want you to take this into consideration. Kaduna State has welfare of civil servants, most of all. We are the first state to commence the payment of the, we were already ready to raise the minimum wage when we had to wait for this, the federal government to do the engagement and,
Are you paying the minimum wage now?
And immediately it was approved. We were the first to pay. We started paying in September 2019, and we have not stopped till date.
But the officials there tell us that the Ministry of Local Government...
We had
on that same local government matter, just a minute, madam. The Ministry for Local Government is reverting to 18,000 naira, not 30,000 naira.
We approved a 2% state revenue for staff.
Just a minute, madam. Can you respond to that directly? The Ministry for Local Government...
We sold government...
I know you can hear the question. Could you respond to the question? The Ministry for Local Government...
We raised the maternity leave 6 months. 6 months.
Are you avoiding the question, madam?
Pardon?
Okay, I thought you were avoiding the question. The Ministry for Local Government is paying 18,000 naira, not 30,000 naira as the minimum wage law stipulates. This is what they have told us.
No. Okay.
This was as at yesterday.
It is not true. I can assure you that. It is
How much are they receiving then? Well, because they say they are reverting. They are reverting to 18,000 naira. They tell us that authoritatively.
Authoritative? I don't understand.
How much are they reverting to?
30,000. They paid 30,000 minimum wage.
Okay, we'll take that up with them because they say that, contrary to what has been said, that is what they are reverting to at the moment. And then the state equally said that the local government is bloated and that they do not have the resources to pay. But they also point out that how can that be? Because FAC allocation for the state, they say there's some 4.8 billion naira that is received, and the state government equally has IGR in that same region of 4.8 billion naira. And then there's internal grants from Ecological Fund. There's external grants, COVID-19 intervention from those several foundations and other financial for the state. So they wonder, how can the state say they don't have funds to pay this?
Well, the state, apart from paying salaries, has other responsibilities. I'm sure you'll agree with me. And I wish, I don't know if you have been to Kaduna before this administration came into power, but I wish you would come to Kaduna these days and see what is happening. We have renovated our primary healthcare agency, units and facilities. We are equipping them. We have renovated and equipped our BATCs, And these, we feel, will provide skills for majority of the people in Kaduna State, the youth particularly, because when we did the last census showed that we had more youth than old people in Kaduna State. So, and because Kaduna State and the local governments cannot engage them and provide salary for all of them, that is why we are doing everything in our power to see that we provide skills, that they acquire skills to be able to do, to open up small businesses. And even before the central bank and other things started giving out loans, we give loans to our civil servants. We have a microcredit loan facility that we give to civil servants. We have the renovation, the state government guaranteed the renovation loan of a minimum of 500,000 naira for civil servants.
All right, then we need to anchor at that point. We need to anchor at that point. We do get your point, Rudy, but thank you very much indeed for talking to us this morning. Baratu Muhammad is the head of service for Kaduna State. All right, let's take a look at some of the emails coming through from you lot out there. Yeah.
Let's begin with Oscar's message, and he's talking about democracy in Nigeria, saying democracy, no matter the odds, still remains the best for us as a nation. We all need to be patriotic because a high level of patriotism is vital for us if we must surmount the current challenges on insecurity bedeviling our country.
Well, Victor says there's no amount of discussion that will stop insecurity in Nigeria if we don't solve the issues of unemployment, injustice, and corruption. See the number of Nigeria in the north. What do you think this will be in 20 years' time?
Komodo says, love of country should be paramount in the minds of all Nigerians. We may be in APC or PDP or any other party. The security of Nigeria should matter to all. That I would like to anchor this morning. Thank you so much for watching and for sending in your comments. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day and please stay safe.
I'm Chain Bell Goodbye.